and welcome to this week's tutorial lesson guided by myself, Jerry McGuinness, aka the Irish Phoeoshopper. And this week we're going to be doing the underwater window. Without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to crop our image of the model and get rid of all the unwanted parts of the picture that we don't want in our final shot. Okay, so what I normally do is just crop out a tiny bit of the top, small bit of the sides, and just line it up the way you want it. I think that's quite nice. Then we're going to go to our pen tool now in just a moment, and we're going to select the pane of glass on each window frame, and we're going to mask them out using the pen tool. When you're using the pen tool, obviously use the combine option as well, so you can make multiple selections within the same selection without it interfering or overlapping and so adding and taking away from it. So I'm just going to speed this process up in just a moment. I'm quite slow with the pen tool. It's not something that I use all of the time, so yeah, I just need to get used to it, I suppose. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to speed it up, so not to bore you too much with trying to look at me selecting, you know, the parts of the image that I want to mask out in just a moment. And what we're going to do then is you're going to go up into your options at the top of the page once you've kind of got rid of everything you want out of the image that you're going to mask out in order to replace it with the first water background. And just go to merge components. Got right click, go to make selection and select the radius of 1 for feathering. Then all you're going to do is invert the image and just mask it out. And this allows us and gives us time to drop in our first background picture of water. And when I'm doing this, okay, I'm looking for a part of the image where it'll add some depth of field for me as well, so it's not just completely blue. You might see a little bit of the bottom of the ocean and so forth. That gives it that little bit of extra depth of field. So all I do is I'm just going to move it around here now in just a moment, and as you can see, there's a little bit of the bottom of the ocean, so I'll put that in. Quite happy with the way that looks there at the moment. We'll just have a final look in. There's a line there that I want to get rid of, so I'm just going to mask that out. Oh, too much. What we'll do is we'll just go over there a little bit and just get rid of that black line, just keep it nice and tidy. Then you press Ctrl 0, it will zoom out for you. So next thing what we're going to do is, if you see there now and you're happy with the way that ocean looks, you're happy with the way it's cropped for you, all we're going to do now is we're going to drop in our second ocean backdrop. Okay, and when we drop this in, we just line it up the way we want it, because you might want to keep some of the bubbles and so forth. Drag it underneath the background picture of your model and change it to a soft light blend mode. And that's where we can select the part of the image that we want to keep. So I actually quite like those bubbles, so I might just keep some of those bubbles in it. Again, this is my first time doing a voiceover tutorial, so bear with me. I am getting used to this, and hopefully it'll get better as time goes on. Okay, so I'm happy with the way that's looking. I'm happy with the bubbles. I'm happy with the way the model is looking. I'm happy with just the overall frame of it so far. The mistake I made here was I actually put the fill on the actual layer itself instead of adding in a layer above it, so I left that in just to show you mistakes can be made. So all I'll do is add a new layer, go to fill, change it 50% grey, and then change the blend mode to overlay. From there then, what we will do is we will continue to do some of our dodging and burning. Okay, so what that will do is it'll allow us to darken the parts of the image that we want to add some drama to, and brighten the image for our light sources. So I'm going to go and grab my brushes. I'm going to grab a smoke brush, and from the smoke brush, so let me just zoom in here. I'm going to add a mask in just a moment after I just press Ctrl T to transform it and just descale it a little bit, so just scale it down and just get it the way I want it to look. Just click the tick there. Happy with that. I'll just mask out must go back to a soft brush first and just mask out the unwanted parts of the actual steam or the smoke coming from the tea or the coffee, whichever you prefer to drink. So a nice soft brush, and just go around the edges there for the parts of the image that you don't want. And then in just a moment here, we're just going to duplicate this layer by pressing Command J. So again, Command J, and then I press Control T to transform, right click and flip it horizontal. Okay, and we'll just adjust this just a tiny little bit by right clicking and going to warp, and then just dragging it in here. And this is, again, you can play around with this, you're free to do whatever way you want to do this. This is just the way I like to do it. I like to add different, you know, elements to it and mess about with them, and a lot of this stuff and a lot of time it's experimenting, you know. So just gonna mask that part of the smoke out, and I'm pretty happy with that so far. Control T and just bring that in just a little bit more. There we go. Yeah, that looks nice. Maybe if we just resize both of them by control clicking both layers on the right hand side and just pressing Control T, and then we can make it whatever size we want. Then I'll just tilt a little bit at the angle of the cup. Yeah, that's looking pretty nice. So feel free to like and subscribe. You know, this channel will get better and will continue to grow. Again, this is my first time doing a voiceover tutorial. So again, if it's a little bit, sounds a little bit nervy or a little bit shaky and so forth, again, it's the first time, so it will get better as time goes on. So I'm just going to rename my layers just by double clicking on the writing beside them and just changing them, just so I can better identify them. Plus I think it looks really nice when you have everything organized and labeled the way you want it labeled. You may have different names you want to put them. So next we're going to drag in our polar bear. So go select subject on the photo, and all we're going to do then is we're just going to click the mask button in just a moment. We're just going to mask out this polar bear. Then we're going to move it onto a part of our picture, and we're going to drag and drop it in behind the picture of the foreground, which is the model and the window. Let's press Control T and just scale it down a little bit. If you hold Shift, it'll scale it with the dimensions without, you know, stretching it or pixelating it. Let's just line it up where we want it. We can try a couple of things, you know, again, experiment with it. You can add and remove what you might like, you know, but for just for this, I was messing around for a couple of moments and I kind of like this. So we're going to be adding 2 polar bears. Okay, so this was the first one. And I'm kind of liking, at this stage, I was like, will or won't I? But, you know, it looked okay. The scale of the polar bear was okay. I was going to make it bigger, but I decided against it because if I did, it's going to make it look too unrealistic. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to add in the second polar bear. Actually, apologies, I didn't even know the order of my own video. First thing we're going to do is add in our texture for the window. So all we do here is drag and drop that layer over and change it to soft light. Okay, and it'll make it look like raindrops on the windows. It's beautiful. I'm just gonna turn the opacity down a little bit. Don't want it too strong. Kind of liking the way that looks right now. Yeah, that's quite nice. And all I'm gonna do is, again, Command J to duplicate it. Right click, I'm going to flip it vertical, and then I'm going to right click again and flip it horizontal. And what I'm going to do is just drag it down here to the lower part of the windows. You see, yes, that looks nice. Now what we're going to do is in just a moment, I'm just going to zoom in and have a look. There's a line in this in the picture here. I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but you know, we're just going to mask that line out just to make sure that you know, you can actually tell which is the top and which is the bottom from the line. Let me just close this window down here now. Let me close this window down. Now everything's starting to look okay, but we're just going to go in here now. We're going to mask out the part of the window where you can see the lines there, just so you know, it looks like 2 different parts of the window. So let me just zoom in. Let me grab my brush now here in just a moment and let's just mask this out. So nice and gentle. I have an opacity of about 20%. and I'm just gently going over because I want it to blend seamlessly. So as you can see there, it's starting to blend even nicer. So that line will go away, so you don't see a dividing line between the two water splashes on the window. And then once you're happy with that, then, because I'm kind of liking the way that looks right now, yeah, that's nice. So from here then, we're going to just select subject on our second polar bear picture. Let's have a quick look and see where he's looking by masking him. Let's shift the edge, let's bring it in a bit closer. Click OK. Let's have one more look at it there now. And let's just drag and drop him in there. We just want to again Control T just to change the scale of the second polar bear. Let's just scale him down there. Again, hold shift, scale him down. Now there's a couple of little positions here that I try him in well, and I wasn't really feeling it, so I settled on a position to the top right hand frame as far as I'm aware. Again, just drag and drop him in behind the frame, behind the picture of the model and the window. Again, all these stock images are in the description, so please click on the link, download them, and then when you share them or when you complete it, make sure that you credit the providers of the stock images, because you know they go through some great work and they upload them to some free stock websites for the likes of all the creators to use. So it's a great model and fair play to them. So again, Control T. Let me just try something here. I wasn't really feeling it when I made him this big. I was like, no, this is not working for me. So let me just fix him here in just a moment. We're just going to press Control T, and we're just going to scale him down a little bit there now in just a moment. Again, me clicking on the wrong layers, and I was like, what am I doing? And then finally I was like, oh yeah, this is the right layer. So again, you know, messing around, wasn't really feeling it. So I decided to scale him down, put him in the top right hand corner, maybe a little bit smaller, bring him up here again, let me just drag him in. That's not bad. Click OK. Yeah, I'm liking the look of that so far. All I'm going to do is just add a little blur to him, as if you were looking through some glass at him, you know, he's not going to be completely sharp. Just a slight bit of blur onto that. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a slight bit of blur to the big polar bear as well. You know, it's just to give the illusion that you are looking through a glass window. It's going to be a little bit blurry, so especially with water on it. So I'm happy with that so far. I'm happy with the way the two polar bears are looking. I think what we might do now is we might turn the opacity down a little bit, because right now they're too sharp, they're too, you know, it'll help blend them in with the blue of the sea and so forth. So I'm thinking that would be the best option for us right now. So just let me have a quick look here. Let me make sure that everything is the way it needs to be. I'll add a curves layer first, just above the dodge and burn layer, and just bring it down a little bit, just to darken the girl and the window frame and so forth. Okay, and I'm going to grab my brush tool on the mask of the curves layer, and I'm just going to brighten the parts of the image. So I'm just going to use black to paint back in the underneath of the image, the original shot, just to give that, you know, lighting effect from the window basically. So again, we darken it with the curves, we bring it down, and then what we'll do is we'll just mask it back in. I'm happy with the way that's looking. So far so good. I wasn't really feeling the second polar bear at this stage, so I just decided to turn off his layer and just reassess as to, you know, do I want that second polar bear in there, or do I want to add something different in there? But again, I wasn't really I was undecided at this stage. Even maybe just make that polar bear just a small bit bigger. That's not bad at all. Again, I was still thinking at this stage, I was like, will I not add that second polar bear in? So I brought him back in, and now I just turn down the opacity. Just blend him in that little bit more, and he's a bit further in the background. Same with the big polar bear, turn down the opacity just slightly. And as you can see, they starting to blend out a little bit more. It's starting to look really, really effective. And at this stage, I was starting to be really happy with how it's starting to look. From here then, all we're going to do is we're going to create a solid layer on top, at the very top. So we create a new layer at the very top, solid color, and we'll select we want a nice little kind of neutral blue color to it. Okay, so I mess around with some colors here, just having a quick look. If you want, you can copy and paste that code number into your color bar. Let's have a look. And then once you do that, I think what we might go for here is, I think we might go for, again, another soft light overlay. Yeah, that's starting to look a lot better. What we'll do is we turn down the opacity a little bit. Add another curves layer above that. And the curves layer, let's go to the blue. Let's just manipulate the blues a little bit. And again, I didn't want the image very punchy, I wanted it a little bit flat. So all I'm doing is just adjusting the blues and the reds. And then what you do is press Shift, Control, Alt and E and it'll stamp the whole lot of the layers and make one complete layer view, including all of this. Then we're going to go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and in the Camera Raw Filter, we're going to come down to Color Mixer, and we're just going to adjust, first of all, the saturation. We're going to turn up the blues and the aquas. Go into Hue again. Just have a mess around with the blues and the aquas. Starting to look nice. Let's just collapse that. I was going to mess around. Well, what first we'll do is we'll darken some of the shadows, darken some of the shadows and the blacks. Increase the blacks a little bit, we'll brighten some of the blacks, we'll darken the shadows and brighten some of the blacks, add a tiny bit of contrast. Now I was going to add clarity and some texture, but I as far as I'm aware, I decided not to, because it was making it look a little bit too more punchy and a little bit too much sharpness to it, and that's not what I wanted. I wanted it a little bit more flat. Click OK. From there then we're going to go to Filter Gallery, and I quite like the day brush effect, or dry brush effect, sorry, apologies, dry brush effect. And then once you do that, just turn down the opacity on it to around exactly what you see on the screen there. I think now it's small on my screen, so I think it's 9%. Then what we're going to do is add another. I want it just to look a little bit flatter than what it's looking at the moment. So one more curves there here. I'm just going to bring it down a little bit. I'm going to bring up. So as you can see, just lighten the blacks a little bit. From there then, we're just going to create a brand new layer. Select a brush tool, a paint dropper tool, and just select maybe a light blue. And what we're going to do is just going to paint in a little bit of light coming from the top of the water. Okay. Change the screen to give it that nice little bit of brightness. Press Ctrl T, and what we'll do is we'll just stretch it out a little bit and give it that nice little light effect coming from the ocean. And it looks like that it's lighting up the model as well at the same time. Turn down the opacity a little bit. You don't want it to be too bright. Shift, Control, Alt and E to create a new stamp layer. Just change the blend mode to linear light. come up to your filters, select high pass, 0.7 may do it, click OK, and now we have our final image, and this is the final result. Again, feel free to like and subscribe, hit the like button, feel free to share this, give me some feedback in the comments, let me know what I could do better, what you did like about it, what you didn't like about it. Again, it will continue to grow and it will continue to improve with feedback from everybody and anybody. Okay, I appreciate you taking the time today to, attempt this tutorial. I hope it works out great for you. Feel free to tag me. You can get me on Instagram at jer_McGuinness photography, or you can get me, actually it's jer_McGuinness_ photography, apologies. And on Facebook you can get me at jer McGuinness photography. Please tag me in your results, let me have a look, and we can have a chat. I love to meet new creative people. Okay, have a great day. Merry Christmas.